We have our 1/2 cup of room temperature milk. We're going to be adding our 1/2 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. You're going to mix that together and then let it sit for at least 5 minutes before you use it. Your butter and sugar are creaming. Mix and measure your dry ingredients. We're going to be using about 6.8 ounces or 1.5 cups of Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 flour. We're going to make about 15% of our weight the expandex, which is a modified tapioca starch that will improve the texture. 1.2 ounces or about 4 tablespoons. 1/2 teaspoon xanthan gum. 1/2 teaspoon salt. This is important for flavor. 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. 1/2 teaspoon baking powder. Baking powder and baking soda have different ways they react in the recipe to act as leavening agents. Those are our dry ingredients. You just want to mix them well before adding them in to our wet. Next we have our eggs. We're going to be using about 4 ounces of eggs. This is going to translate to about 2 medium-sized whole eggs and 1 yolk. There are many techniques you might see for separating your eggs from your yolk. I find just using the eggshell to be the easiest. It's also very important that these are at room temperature. We're going to be measuring out our ingredients for creaming, which will be the butter, sugar, and a little bit of olive oil. The olive oil will help to emulsify this and give it a good texture without messing up our ratio of butter to sugar to flour to egg. 8 ounces or 1.5 cups approximately of granulated sugar. 4 ounces or 1 stick or 1/2 cup of butter, room temperature. If your butter is not room temperature, it will not cream well. Teaspoon of olive oil. You are going to cream these very well using a stand or hand mixer, probably at least 5 to 10 minutes until uniform and fluffy. You can kind of see it is fluffy and light. And so now we're ready for the next step. We're going to be adding in those eggs, 1 egg at a time, mixing between each one for about a minute or 2. We're going to add in our first egg yolk and then mix. Our first egg is fully incorporated. Time to add our second. Any point you feel like you may need to, make sure that you mix things in and scrape down the sides again. Adding our third and final yolk. Fully incorporate again. Now that our third egg is fully incorporated, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of your preferred extract. I usually use almond extract. You can also use vanilla or vanilla bean paste. Make sure that any extracts or flavorings you add are gluten-free. That can be a common source of contamination. Mix that in. Next step is going to be to slowly incorporate our wet and dry ingredients that we already measured out before. So our wet is going to be our milk with the vinegar. It should be room temperature and have sat for at least 5 minutes at this point. It's okay if it looks a little curdled, that's not a problem for this cake. And then our dry ingredients, the flour with all the leavening and salt and everything that we had before. We're going to keep the mixer on and we're going to add alternating between milk and dry in small batches. Probably wouldn't add more than about 1/4 cup at a dry at a time, with just a couple of splashes of the wet in between. Make sure you scrape all the bits off that might have flown to the side, get those all mixed in there. And then because this is a gluten-free cake, we don't have to worry about over-developing our gluten. And we do really want to make sure that we have well-hydrated dry components. So it is okay if you want to mix this for a few more minutes. So this is what your batter should look like when you're all done and ready to bake. General 9x13 baking pan. Lightly spray the bottom with canola oil. Place parchment paper down in it. And lightly spray the parchment paper with oil. Once you get all your batter out, just generally spread it around the pan until it is an even thickness. Your oven should be preset to 325 degrees and you're good to bake. Alright, this looks close to being done. It's aromatic. It's been about 42 minutes. It's lightly golden browned. It's pulling away from the edges a little bit. Now we're going to pull it out and try the indent test and the toothpick test. Pick a small part of the cake and gently push in. See how it bounces back? That's a good sign. Gonna take a toothpick, poke it anywhere in the cake, and remove it. It should be dry. It looks like this one's done, so now you just need to let it completely cool before doing anything else with it. Could take a half hour to an hour, and then you're good to frost, cut, shape, whatever you want.